This isn't your typical ghost story. This is a real account from a U.S. military police officer who was guarding a National Guard facility. One midnight, when he heard screams and then saw a horrifying sight. A woman drenched in blood begged him to save her child. But when he rushed to help, something strange and scary happened. What he saw next would chill him to the bone. I found this on the subreddit r, nosleep and r, scariest stories, where it got hundreds of upvotes. So let's jump in. It was a normal night for me. I was an active MP doing post-duty at a National Guard base. It was very boring, so I don't remember exactly what time it was, but it was around midnight. We were sitting in the guard shack, checking people in and out and just waiting for something to happen. So we heard a knock on the door, and when we opened it, there was a woman standing there. She was crying, shaking, and covered in blood. At first we thought it was fake blood, because she was laughing hysterically and saying weird things. My partner and I looked at each other and we were like, wow, this person really committed to their Halloween costume. She said, please, my child is trapped. Please help me get to my child. He's still in the car. She kept saying this over and over again. She said her name was Stephanie. I asked if she was injured and she said, no, it's my baby. I have to get to my baby. She was kneeling down now and holding her head and rocking back and forth. My partner and I were trying to figure out what to do. It was around 2 a.m. and the base was pretty much empty. All of the units were locked up and no one was outside except us. My partner called backup, and I went out to try and calm Stephanie down. She kept asking me to get her baby out of the car, and she kept saying that she had to go to him. I asked her where her car was, and she pointed toward the main gate. When I asked her to walk toward me so I could get her some help, she suddenly took off running toward the main gate. I started chasing after her and yelling for her to stop. As I ran to the gate, I noticed that it wasn't closed. Normally it was shut and locked every evening, but for some reason, it was open. I remember thinking, why isn't this thing closed? Then I remembered that my partner had told me that the night before during shift change, he couldn't get the thing to close, so they just left it open and marked it as closed on the log. When I reached the gate, Stephanie was nowhere to be seen. I checked around the building, but she was gone. There were no footprints in the grass or anything. It was like she vanished into thin air. I ran outside the floodlights and looked around for a bit, but I couldn't see her anywhere. I ended up finding my partner, and we decided to just wait for whoever was supposed to be helping us to get there and just hope that Stephanie showed up again. That was when I heard her voice. She was screaming from somewhere inside the woods, "Help me, please, save my baby." I grabbed my rifle and started running toward the sound of her voice. My partner followed behind me, yelling for me to stop. I remember thinking, what am I doing? This is probably some crazy person in a Halloween costume. But I heard her voice again, and I saw her standing at the edge of the road. She was pointing down a long, dark road between 2 rows of trees. She screamed at me, "Please save my baby. He's down there." Then she turned and ran into the woods. I was about to chase after her, but my partner caught up with me and told me to stop. He said that we should just stick together and go back to the shack. But when I turned to tell him no, she was gone. And all I could hear was the wind blowing through the trees. My partner and I decided to split up and search for her and whatever child she was talking about. That's when I heard a noise in the trees. I don't know if it was a branch or an animal, but it sounded like someone or something was moving around in the trees near me. I remember getting scared and running away from that sound, and that's when I saw it. I saw a car. I couldn't make out the make or model, but it was flipped over in a ditch on the side of the road. I started running toward the car, and I could hear my partner behind me. He was yelling at me to stop, but I didn't listen. I couldn't see well because it was dark, and the trees were tall and thick, so the road was mostly in shadow. But I could see enough to know that there was a car in that ditch. I remember thinking, maybe this is some drug addict who overdosed and crashed. I broke the window, and I saw a small boy in the back seat. He was unconscious, but he was breathing. I reached in and tried to pull him out of the window, but it was too small. So I smashed the back window and crawled in. After what felt like forever, I got the boy out of the car and onto the road. He was only a small child, maybe 3 years old. He was wrapped in a blanket that was stained with blood. As soon as I pulled him out of the car, I heard a voice say, "Thank you," and I saw a woman standing there. She looked the same as the woman I'd seen at the gate, but now she was even bloodier. She was smiling at me, and then she vanished again. That's when I started freaking out. I called for backup, and I started chest compressions on the kid. My partner came and helped me, and eventually we got the boy to sit up. We put him on a stretcher, and I carried him to the truck while my partner stayed with the car. I wanted to go back and look for the woman, but my partner stopped me. On the way back to the guard shack, I asked my partner if he'd seen the woman. He said no, but there was a woman in the car. She must have been knocked unconscious in the crash. I asked, how did she get in the car if she was knocked out? He shrugged and said, I don't know. When we got back to the shack, the woman was gone, but the blood on his jacket was still there. I knew that I hadn't imagined her. I was shaking and crying, and I remember thinking, how can I be scared like this? I'm a soldier. Soldiers aren't scared of things like this. Then I heard my sergeant yell, what the hell happened to you? Why is the kid covered in blood? I explained what had happened, and everyone started running around like chickens with their heads cut off. They sent the kid to the hospital, and he ended up being okay. We gave him a few stitches, and then he was fine. That was when the news came on the radio. There had been a car accident on that road, and a woman had been killed. When I heard that, I knew that it was Stephanie and that she had died in the crash. Then someone came into the shack and told me that the kid had been released from the hospital and was on his way back to the base. I waited for him to come back, but the woman was gone. I searched everywhere for her, but I never found her. The blood on the kid's jacket was also gone. By morning, it was completely clean. I have no idea what happened that night. Some people say that it was a trauma hallucination, but I think that she came back from the dead to save her son. This is one of many haunted military bases stories. These are the scariest ones. Let me know if you want to hear more. In military horror stories from Reddit, it's not always the enemy you face. Sometimes it's a mother's love that defies death. Comment below if you believe in ghosts or if you've ever had a close call like this. Thanks for watching. I'm the host. See you next time.